Hey, it's Dan, and welcome back to Indepth Gaming. Now I get asked this an awful lot. How do you come up with your builds? Like, they're really strong. What do you do? How do you test it and so on? And the first thing I do is I actually use the USEP build editor. This is an incredible tool and it will save you so much gold. So I'd highly recommend using it, especially for PvP, but it also works for PvE too. So in this video we're going to kind of go through how do you find it, how does it work, and this way you'll know what to do when you're creating your next build to save yourself a bit of gold. So to find it, you want to go onto Google or any search engine and just type in ESO build editor, and you're looking for the USEP.net wiki. It's kind of this top link here. It works much better on desktop, so I would highly recommend doing this on a computer, but you could use it on a tablet if you kind of force it to load up the desktop page. Once you click the link, it will take you to this kind of interface, and it just explains how the editor works, but in all honesty this is not helpful. It's not really clear enough, it's a bit but as you can see there's loads of information down here. I'm instead going to show you how I actually use it so you can kind of get the quick and easy overview. In the top right you can create an account. I would recommend doing so, that way you can save your build and come back to it for future patches, you can share it and so on. It's really helpful. You're looking for this button here, it says ESO build editor, you're looking for this here. There is a link in the description if you want to find it. And before we look at the editor, if you haven't guessed it already, this channel is all about helping you get better with next level builds, guides and gameplay, so why not start improving today by subscribing? Now let's look at the editor. Once you get into the editor you get presented with many options, and it will take a bit of time to load depending on device. You can enable and disable CP, and on the right side of the screen you'll be able to see your character stats and kind of what it would it be like in game. From testing and using this extensively, this is kind of how I design my builds, it's kind of about 95 to 98% accurate. There's a little bit of discrepancy, but in all honesty, if it's kind of pretty much on the money, it's definitely worth using this. So to kind of use it, it's pretty straightforward. You've got some options here: stealth, in Cyrodiil, PTS rules. These are pretty straightforward. If you go in Cyrodiil, it puts on the health buff, so you kind of get that, so that's helpful there. You can change your vampire stage. This will probably change with the next patch, so just do factor that in. You can also put, are you a werewolf, are you not a werewolf? The alliance is irrelevant, so just skip that for now. Total CPs, skip that. Class is where it's really important, so what class do you want? If you have 2 Munderstones, so you've got twice 1 star, you can put them on here. So you can put on the Munderstones down there, really helpful. And your attributes are kind of your stats, so if I'm making a stamina build, I put 64 points in there. And it will go up on here, so it's pretty simple. Where it says build name, you can go and give it a name. So Dan's example build. And the character name, I'd recommend kind of naming it what you use in game, or just give it your YouTube name if you make it on YouTube. So I would go Unified Gaming or by Unified Gaming. So that way when people see it, they know who it's by. You can add a description if you want to give an idea what it's about, and all of this stuff here, just leave this alone. We don't need to touch this stuff. Okay, that's kind of just generic sort of resistances in PvP, PvE, just basic stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how I would actually go through making my build from kind of start to finish, and then show you some example builds that you can use to get a kind of benchmark on what is a good build, what should it look like, okay? So if I was going to make, say, a warden, which is kind of one of my favourite classes, pick my race. So I know, having played the game a lot, Nord is very tanky, Orc is very good for stamina, Breton, High Elf, good for Magicka. So if I was going to make a Magicka build, for example, I'll probably go with a High Elf, but I'm going to mix it up and go with a Nord, because you can do some really cool stuff. I'm going to go Nord, Warden, and my Munderstone I leave alone. I'd recommend leaving this to the end, okay? Because this you can kind of use to fix any weaknesses you have in your class. I'd also enable the CP, and just quickly jump to the CP, and just put 100 in just a random tree. Doesn't matter which one for the moment. So something that won't increase your actual tooltips. So like Shattering Blows, Bastion, and maybe something like Warlord. This is because you get bonus attributes if you have 100 CP in each area. So red, green and blue get bonus attributes. Any more won't increase your stats anymore. So this is just a good way to kind of see what would it look like in CP quickly without having to optimize the CP. I would honestly just copy the CP on the example builds in a little bit. In the items, you can obviously get access to all the sets. You can scroll down and use this bit down here. I don't like it in all honesty, but you can use it. It's just quicker to click on what you want. Down here is the food and drink, so I'd recommend obviously knowing what you're going to look for, but you can just scroll down and find most of the stuff on here. So it's pretty useful. So like Aidail and take away broth. As a Nord, I'm going to try and make a Magicka build this time. So I'll leave this as it is, and I'm going to go with my kind of general, what do I need? Well, I know Wardens have access to lots of max magicka, and obviously they get really good kind of access to necropotence because they can keep it up all the time. So I'm going to go necropotence. And you notice that if you misspell it, it won't put up the correct things. You do need to make sure that you put it in fully, and you only have to put part of it in, so not the whole thing. You've got the quality, so gold basically, armor traits, in pen, and just hit search, it will update it. You can change the CP level if you want, it's not needed. So I'm just going to put on the necropotence, and it saves the previous search, so you can literally just push the search button on each one. Nice and simple. So we'll make a generic kind of magical warden that you would expect in kind of PvP. I'm going to go necropotence, I'm going to go with bloodspawn because it's a common set. So you type in blood, you get all of these options. Again, it kept my armor trait, so I can go heavy because I want my undaunted, and medium. So now I know that my undaunted will be on shortly when I put my skills in. And then my jewellery and my other set, I'm probably going to go with bright throat because that's a really good pairing. Bright. And I put the dash because I know it's bright throat exposed. If you go, well, I'm not going to get in gold, just change it to purple so you can get a better reflection of what you might actually have. So I do this quite often with my builds. Have a gold weapon, that's the biggest increase, and everything else purple and you're fine. And then I'm probably going to go with an inferno staff, so fire staff. And you'll notice that there's no Nernhound on here. I'm also going to make it gold too. So just to show you, that's 1132. But if it's legendary, it's 1331. So you see it's like a 200 spell damage increase, so it's definitely worth golding it out. I'm going to go sharpened, and I will change it to Nernhound. Now I have noticed in the past that sharpen and a few of these traits are a bit clunky, so I found that Nernhound and infuse work really well and give you kind of the true value, so just use those. The others have been fixed, or so I'm told, but I haven't tested it fully. I then need to put on my food, kind of procs this 5p, so I'm going to go to here and put on spring loaded infusion, because that's a really good food choice. So now I'm getting a good idea of what's my build looking like so far. And at the moment, okay, I'm missing quite a bit of magic. I'm missing some recovery too. So let's have a look at my glyphs. They put on recoveries. They've put on some magicka here. So now I need to kind of swap my skills now that I've got my rough build outlined. I'm going to probably go sword and shield too. I'm going to go for defending, and I'm going to go for shield, impen, shield, sorted. So there you go, that's my kind of rough build. I'm going to change this to change the glyphs. You hit the little star, by the way. Change it to prismatic. On a shield I'd recommend magicka in all honesty, just a little tip there if you're a magicka character. Change all my big ones to prismatic now. So now what I have is prismatic, 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 so let's try stat, magicka, magicka, magicka. That one's stamina, so let's change that quickly. Magicka now. My jewellery's recovery, recovery, recovery. I've got a random glyph on here which I don't like, so I'm going to change that quickly to be the berserker glyph. So weapon damage glyph, so I can activate that in a moment. And then when I go to sets, any proc set I can turn it on or off. So say with necropotence I have 33k magicka, without it I don't. So you see magic pool is quite low, isn't it? Now that's because all my points are in stamina, so just move that across, put it into magicka. 41k, that's much more respectable now as you'd expect. I'm also going to turn on the Cyrodiil buff. So now you can see, look, I've got 23k health, so this is now looking more of a viable build. Instead of picking each skill one by one, just hit purchase line, or buy all the skills and all the passives at once. So little useful things like destruction staff, if you don't try focus, just purchase the whole lot, and then hit the little plus, and then hit the refund, and it's gone now. So nice and simple. Restoration staff, put on my armour, so I need all my light armour passives, medium, heavy, and if you really want to count how many skill points you use, it does also keep track too, which is really helpful. It says, look, I've used this many. So if you want to go, how many do I need to make this build viable, you could turn off the passives you don't actually need, like rapid mending, because I don't actually benefit from that. In the world is where you find all your world skills, like Legerdman, Soul Magic, Vampire. I'm going to be a vampire on this because I like being vampire. It's just I like the supernatural recovery and the undeath. So in order to get these passives on, I need to go back to general. So look, I'm going to be a vampire stage 3. And you see my recovery's now jumped up. See, 1506, stage 3. 1631, so now it's starting to factor in those kind of things. I'm now going to start to build my skill bars and kind of get, what do I want? So Deep Fisher, I probably want my Blue Betty, so I just need to change that morph, so click the plus symbol to pick the morph you want. Bird of Prey, I probably need my stun, so I'm going to go with Destruction Staff, use Destructive Clench, and you see it will change when I put it on the bar. Then now it's Flame Clench, so don't worry about that, it does change for you. And I probably need to have something else. Maybe I could put a bit more max mag because my magic is a bit low. So go to guild, Mage's Guild. Let's go and change that to Inner Knight. Whack that on. Now I've got 43k magic, so now this is looking more and more viable as a build. Put on my Undaunted passives, 46k magicka. Put on my Racial passives. Go to Craft. You can put on Alchemy Medicinal Use. It doesn't actually do anything on the editor, so don't panic, it's not worth it. Waste of time really. So I've kind of got my rough kind of what do I want. I'm probably going to use Northern Storm. That's quite a good ultimate on the Warden. On my back bar, I'm probably going to use Living Trellis because that's a good skill. I also like obviously my armor buff, so Winter's Embrace. After there, I like Shimmering Shield, that's another good skill. I like to play with a light armor shield, so I'm going to switch that to Dampen Magic because I enjoy that, I find it more useful. And I've kind of got a flex spot and thinking, what could I put there? So I've got a heal over time and a burst heal there, but I don't have much healing power. So I'm going to go to Green Balance and probably put on Nature's Embrace because it's a really good heal for me and an ally. And my ultimate there. So what we've done so far is we've sorted out our race, we've sorted out our class, we haven't done our Mundus yet because we can kind of fix it and go, look, I've got 1800 regen, I don't actually need any more. So I'm going to change this to the Mage. Now I've got 40, there you go, so I've got a bit more damage. I've then sorted out my gear, sorted out my sets. Let's turn on Bloodspawn now because I want to see what this like kind of buff most of the time. Sorted out my skills. I could put on any kind of passives that skills give you, so if Northern Storm was up I could tick it. Okay, what would it be if I could have Northern Storm on? 54k, that's looking pretty good as a Nord, like that's absolutely crazy. Let's go to buffs. I can now turn on the buffs I would expect to have. What I do with all of my builds, and I'd recommend doing the same, is put on the kind of main buffs your class will have access to for 80-90% of the fight all the time. So I wouldn't put on potion buffs or continuous attack, but you can do that. So I'm going to scroll down and go, Major Resolve, you always have your armor buff on. You have Major Sorcery or Major Brutality, so it will put those on. You then might go, actually I might maybe have one of these other ones up here, but generally not. And then going to scroll down, okay, and go, look, Major Prophecy is on already because Inner Light's on, so that's actually active. So spell crits 30%, swap bar, 20%, and you can just do it by literally tapping the bar in the item sets or even in the skill section if you want bar 1, bar 2. And then I go back to my buffs and go scroll down and go, any minor buffs I would have will have Minor Berserk because I have Bird of Prey. So if you're unaware, Minor Berserk, Bird of Prey, that's on there by default. Scroll down a bit more, get any other passes. We'll get Minor Protection because actually Warden has it in their kit. I don't really get any of these other ones, but I get Minor Toughness because I'm a Warden, that's always on because you always proc it on yourself. So now I've got 28k health, so this is what I'd have most of the time. I'm curious though, what would it look like if I had my spell damage glyph on? So I'm going to scroll down and find out potions, potions, all that stuff, sets if you want proc sets, targets. But I'm going to go down to the bottom, put on my spell glyph, so this is now active on the character sheet. And now I've got sort of 2.2k spell damage, 48k magicka, so I'm kind of getting in a good spot now, like, oh, this is looking pretty good. I haven't sorted out my CP though. I'm going to go to the CP now, and I'm just going to reset this quickly and just go to a kind of a generic setup. This is what I'll choose as a kind of rough base, you can tweak it afterwards. I found from testing extensively, 56 in Ironclad is the best, 44, you then go to Lady, fix in about 48 roughly, and you'll see that it's 18.24, 17.98, that will round down to 17%, so just go just over a percent or equal to. 37 here, 37 here. In the Lord I go with 29 I think it is, or is it 27? No, it's 27, sorry. And I've got some points spare which I might put in Bastion, I might put around, so I can put them where I like. But that's just a generic setup. The main thing is that I've got my thick skin covered, hardy, elemental defender, got ironclad resistant, and I've got that there. And I can kind of move it where I see fit. You might want to try and get some passives, but you can play around with it. For the blue CP, I'm taking all out of Shattering Blows, and I know that I need probably 66 here. 22% is kind of a good staple number for this. I want 56 in Elfborn, or in my crit if I'm stamina, so that's really helpful. I want my Elemental Expert to be 43 for 10%, or 56 for 12%, which I go 56 personally. I know that having tested extensively, the jump point for spell erosion is 35 or 46. So that's just a useful thing to do, and to calculate that, I'll show you in a second, it's quite easy. Go to the ritual, I'm probably going to put a little bit in there maybe not, probably not. But I'm going to put some into perhaps my blessed. Let's go for 19 in here for 5%. General setup, you can obviously optimise it a bit further. Same for over here, let's remove that. Our Warlord is 56 is a good number for that. Siphoner, you want 1 point in here, that just gives you basically a debuff on Templars and stuff, so it's something else for them to purge. Sprinter can be useful, 19 is a good number there, but you don't need it. I'll leave it there for the moment, okay? I'll try and get Wind running, it's a good passive, so I normally go 56 of my main attribute, so if it's Magicka, Arcanist, if it's Stamina, Mooncalf, I go with kind of 27 of my off attribute, and I go 37 of Tenacity. And you get bang on 120, and that's the Lava, 120 there. Shadow, I'm going to go 37 and then 37 for kind of a good general round. 270 is the cap for each tree, by the way, so just do bear that in mind. So that's my CP now fixed. So now I can go back and say, what does the damage look like on this build? 16.5k Deep Fissure, not bad for a Nord, it's pretty good. I've got pretty good resistance though, pretty much most of the fight, that's really good. Clenchers, Northern Storm's pretty decent, 5k, Betty, standard. That's a nice heal, it's 20k heal over 10 seconds. So this is a really good way just to get a kind of rough feel for how viable is my idea. Will it work, will it not work? And this is just what I do for a lot of my builds. I kind of go through, play around with it. I go, look, I've got 1900 regen, let's just swatch that out and go, spell damage, magical harm, and now let's just have a look, that's now 17k. And I can go, do I need to use the mage or the spell damage one? Let's go with the spell damage and see what happens. 17072 with the mage, it becomes 1700, so again 70 on a tooltip, it's not worth it, I'd rather have the max magicka. So I can do things like that where I can just save myself a lot of like time and effort, and this took me about 10-15 minutes to make, it's pretty quick. For the spell pen it's pretty simple, go to calculator, you find your spell penetration, 8624 divided by 660, 13.06%, so that means that actually I'm bang on a percentage number. If it was say 8600 divided by 660, that's still fine. If I go 8400 divided by 660, 12%, that would round down to 12% damage. I'm missing all that, that's wasted CP. So that's how you do the spell penetration as well. But that's kind of the main thing. That's kind of how I use the build editor, and you get this number down here, which is a really useful thing to compare builds. Basically, the higher this is, the more damage it does. Not always, but it's just a kind of a general rule of thumb. It factors in crit, spell damage, sort of max resources, penetration, and so on, so it's really, really helpful. And then to check your mitigation, your resistances, click on mitigation. In PvP, you can see this is what it is. Not in PvP, if I'm in PvE, it's this. In PvP, it's that. If I'm blocking, it's that. Let's just switch my back bar, see what happens down here. So I'm just going to switch my back bar. And if you're unaware, that I had defender, so this should be slightly higher. 82%, 84%, so this is now looking like a good tanky damage dealer. So this is kind of a really good way of how to build your character, just without wasting a lot of time. It takes you half an hour if you do it kind of quick. If you know what you're doing, you can do it in 15 minutes. I'll do this in 15 minutes if I wasn't explaining. But that's how you use the build editor. Hopefully this is really helpful. I'm quickly just going to show you my Archmage build, and I'm going to show you then my Stamina Warden build, so you get an idea of kind of what sort of numbers should you be hitting if you want to make a build yourself. So this is my Archmage. Over here it's got High Elf, Mage, all that good stuff, so just general stuff. There's a video on the channel if you want to see it, but this is how I designed it originally. I then said, look, what would it look like with these things? So all the stuff's exactly the same. I play around with the recovery, the regen glyphs to kind of get it where I like on the editor. I find for me that having around 1500 to 1700 regen without a potion is really good for Magicka characters. On stamina characters in heavy armor, you can get away with about 1400 in all honesty. I find Magicka generally benefits more from max Magicka, so I try to push that more so than spell damage. And I find that my spell damage can sit kind of around 2.5k to 3k fully buffed. This is 3k because I've got no known to here, I've got obviously spell damage glyphs here. Because I'm a high elf, I'm getting a lot more damage than if I did with a Nord. So over here, I only have 2.5k. If I put on the high elf, go to my skills, put in the passives, it's now up to almost 3,000. You can see there is a difference. So it's just a good way to compare races, but I lose a lot of defense. So I think a Nord might be a good option for this. So let's put my Nord passives back in. Over on the Mag Talk again, you can see all my skills are here. You will get this overload bar, just ignore it. It doesn't actually do anything. It's like old code, it used to be there, rather than deleting it they've just left it because it doesn't do anything, so yeah. But that's kind of the mag sulk. So as I said, you want to aim for about 40k, 44k max magicka on a magicka build with around 1700 regen. A little bit more if you are new in a class. If you're not new in a class, then you can probably sacrifice that. You want about 2 to 2.5k spell damage, up to 3000 at the most. And for resistances on a magicka build, you're looking for around about 18,000 to 20,000 as a bare minimum. And you can only get away with that if you use percentage reductions like Blessing of Potentes, which we use in the back bar. So that's our 5% here, and then we've got Temporal Guard, which is another 8%. So that's the only time you can get away with such low resistance. Because my mitigation is still at 78%, so it's still manageable in PvP. If I didn't do that, then I wouldn't be able to run this and it would be too squishy. So then I'd have to go Bloodspawn or, you know, one-on-one. So it's just an idea of how to do this, okay? Sets are here, no sets there, all that stuff here, buffs, you know, I said standard buffs that I get from my class, Major Resolve, Major Sorcery, Minor Protection, Minor Prophecy, because I get that from one of the passives that I was using. So you can see all the things that I would expect to be on are on. I would not put on Continuous Attack or Potion buffs, as I've said already. So that's kind of just how you do it for a Magicka build. And for a Stamina build, it's pretty similar in all honesty. This is Nature's Guardian, there's a video on the channel, it's on the website too. This is like stupidly tanky for a medium armor build, but it hits really hard as well. So in the general, I went with Nord. I chose the Serpent because I lacked recovery when I kind of built the build. I went, I like about 1500 to 1800 me personally. Some people do get away with a lot less. I like kind of a bit more sustain than I actually need, just in case. I then put on the sealed on buffs as you would, enable my CP, did all my build and the items, put on my food, did my sets, turned them all on to see what would it be like fully buffed. Obviously don't include potions, as I've said, and don't include continuous attack, because most people don't, so that way you get a good kind of comparison from build to build, from YouTube to YouTube and so on. Skills, put on all of these. Don't tick on any of these passives unless you have them like all the time. So things like Animal Companions, Advanced Species, that's always active, so you don't need to tick it because it's always on. And then my tooltips are looking like 18,000 for Subterranean Assault, we're looking 15k for Dizzy, 20k Dawnbreaker, almost 7k Executioner, so 6.6, 6.7 Executioner, really high, all my standard stuff here, 35k Armour in Medium, which is just bonkers, good sort of sustain, good weapon damage. This is the build I use currently, it's really good. Go to my buffs just to check that I'm kind of getting it correct. So Brutality is what I'd expect, Resolve is what I'd have access to, I get Minor Berserk as a Warden, I get Minor Endurance from Rally, so that I would always have that on. I'd get Minor Protection from Ice Fortress, so that's there. I get Minor Toughness from my passives as a Warden. As you can see, there's no kind of things ticked that shouldn't be ticked, and my weapon damage glyph is ticked because I would have access to that. And you'll notice it's taken the infused value, which I use to obviously determine that there. So all in all, that's how I use the editor, and it lets you get crazy stuff like this. We've got like 83 damage percent reduction, it's just stupid. But you can kind of get an idea, will this work? And if I'm not an Ord, would it work as a Wood Elf? So let's go to a Wood Elf. Let's check how this would work. Damage is the same, I've got a bit more sustain, so I could probably drop maybe my Mundus now. And go, let's swap that for maybe the Lady, to get that high resistance that I like on this build. So, find the Lady, 34k rather than 35k, so I've lost 1000 basic resistance, but I've gained a bit more recovery, got a bit more movement speed, so it's just a really good way to gauge kind of, if I'm this race, could I just tweak one thing to make it work? And as I've said in the past, treat your jewelry glyphs as kind of a set bonus, and treat your race and Mudstone as another set bonus. So that way, if you are, say, a Nord, you've got a defensive set bonus, you can then change that to make your Mundus to be recovery, or spell damage, or max magicka for damage, and so on. You get the idea. So the numbers you want to hit as a stamina character are really about sort of 25k health as a minimum. That way you can't be bursted easily when you're doing 1vx, when you're doing group play. You want around 10 to 11k magicka, and you want around 28k to 34k stamina. Could go higher than that, but that's kind of the minimum. I find in medium armor you can get away with about 1600 regen. I like a little bit more personally. In heavier armor you can get away with about sort of 1200 to 1400 regen, so that's just useful there. Weapon damage wise, you're easily able to push over 4.5k, 5k most builds for stamina, so definitely get to that kind of number. 4k is the minimum in all honesty, 5k is kind of the sweet spot, and anything above it is helpful, but it doesn't add a massive difference. Resistance wise, you want to be about 25k to 30k resistance in medium, and in heavy armour you want to be about 30k resistance. And when I say kind of 30k, that's when you're on your back bar, sword and shield, or defensive traits, that idea. And then CP, as I've said before, same generic CP, so going with sort of 49-49 this time, 61-44 to jump point for resistance, and kind of just spread it out a bit more. As I said, you can look at these are min-max these CPs, so do check those. But yeah, that's kind of how I use this editor. It's really, really helpful, and this has saved me so much money and so much time. So I hope you found this helpful. And before I forget, if you haven't subscribed, do so, and I'll catch you in the next one. So thanks for watching, and bye!